Thanks for joining us on KARE News Now. I'm Chris Harabsky. We got new details on the strategy from the Department of Agriculture to slow the spread of the bird flu and lower the price of eggs. In an op-ed for the Wall Street Journal, Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins says the USDA will invest $1 billion in this plan. That includes enhancing biosecurity measures to keep the virus off of farms, cutting back on egg producer regulations, making it easier for families to raise backyard chickens, and possibly importing more eggs to reduce the prices. But egg prices will likely get worse, they say, before getting better.
We are seeing probably even a little bit more increase up until Easter, which is actually normal because so many eggs are used around Easter. We also have only been in 30 days. I've been in 13 dads. It's going to take a little while to get through, I think, the next month or two, but hopefully by summer.
Right now, the average price across the country for a dozen eggs is sitting about $5. That's the highest average price ever recorded. Some states, though, are seeing prices as high as $8 for a dozen eggs. Big developments today in the ongoing war in Ukraine. That country and the U.S. have reached a deal to begin the end of its war with Russia. The U.S. would also pump money into a Ukraine reconstruction fund. In exchange for that help, the U.S. will get access to rare earth minerals in Ukraine. Two countries have been working for weeks on a deal to try and end this war. NBC's Molly Hunter is in London with the latest.
That's right. So according to reporting from the Financial Times, the U.S. and Ukraine have already agreed to sign this minerals deal. We did just hear from the Ukrainian Prime Minister, who has laid out a couple key points to help us understand this deal. So he says Ukraine's government will today authorize the agreement for signing. Doesn't say necessarily they're completely agreed on every final detail, but says the government will authorize it. He says the U.S. has prepared a final version of the minerals agreement, which envisions the creation of a joint investment fund. And this is the key point. He says agreement is directly connected to security guarantees for Ukraine. This is the single number one priority for President Zelensky, for the government, and this is why Ukraine would agree to a deal like this. Now, this all could be wrapped up by the end of the week, according to one U.S. official who is engaged in these negotiations, who said that President Zelensky is coming to D.C. this week, and it could all be signed by Friday. As far as Russia reacts, no new Kremlin reaction this morning. On Monday, President Putin told state media that they could also offer access to mineral reserves, including in parts of Russian-occupied Ukraine. Now, Putin said Russia has an order of magnitude more resources of this kind than Ukraine, talking about Russia's reserves in the north and the Far East, as well as in the Russian-occupied Donbass region. European peacekeepers is also on the table, certainly being talked about a lot on this side of the Atlantic. On Monday, President Trump asserted that the war could end within weeks and that President Putin would agree to having European boots on the ground at negotiations in Riyadh, though. Russia's foreign minister said it was pretty unacceptable and called European peacekeeping forces on the ground a direct threat. The Kremlin spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, added that they were monitoring these reports with concern, so we will certainly stay on that piece of this agreement, which is sure to be part of this minerals deal. We'll watch it closely. Molly Hunter, NBC News, London.
Politics now back in Minnesota. Governor Walz will not be running for an open U.S. Senate seat next year. His spokesperson, Teddy Shan, said in a statement that Walz loves his job as governor and is exploring the possibility of another term as governor with a continued focus on improving the lives of children in Minnesota. He added that Walz is proud of what he calls the Minnesota DFL's deep bench of talent and excited to see who the voters elect. The seat will open next year. That's after Senator Tina Smith announced that she will not be running for re-election. Walz Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan is the only person so far to formally announce that she will run for that seat. Happening right now in our nation's capital, a potential budget battle brewing over moves to cut close to $2 trillion from the federal budget. Process is still early on, but a slim Republican majority in the House pushed the plan through late Tuesday night. The same plan needs to make it through the Senate before it can be signed. Here's what's inside that bill. It includes an $880 billion reduction in health and energy programs over the next 10 years, a massive $4.5 trillion tax cut plan. The money saved would be used to fund President Trump's mass deportation plan that he campaigned on. A major sticking point is possible cuts to Medicaid, which funds services that millions of Americans rely on. Trump says any cuts to that are off the table. Some Republicans, whose party controls both chambers of Congress, say it's hard to make the math work without affecting Medicare. Let's go to the skies now. Another scary scene in the sky at a busy U.S. airport. The NTSB now saying that this near miss, you see this video? This happened at Chicago's Midway Airport because the pilot of the private jet that wasn't supposed to be on the runway was not obeying air traffic control. It is the latest in a string of aviation incidents, some have been deadly. NBC's Tom Costello is at Reagan National Airport with the very latest.
Good day. The NTSB chief says that this appears to have been a case in Chicago at Midway Airport where the business jet pilot did not obey air traffic control instructions to hold, instead proceeding right across a runway that Southwest plane was about to land on. And those two pilots in the Southwest plane are being hailed right now as heroes for actually very quickly hitting the gas, if you will, and going up and around and missing that private jet that had crossed the runway right in front of them. It comes after a series of close calls, disasters, and crashes nationwide, including here at Reagan Airport. 67 people killed with that mid-air crash involving a regional jet and an Army Black Hawk helicopter. We also had the crash off Nome, Alaska. 10 people killed with that small commuter airline crash in the ice there. We had a medevac crash in Northeast Philadelphia, 7 people killed there. And then in Toronto, of course, that horrific crash landing in which the plane caught fire and flipped over. Amazingly, nobody killed, but more than 24 suffered some form of injury. The NTSB and the FAA investigating every one of these in coordination, of course, with Canadian authorities. So far, there does not seem to be anything that ties all of them together. Instead, this seems to be a series of unrelated aviation incidents, really a coincidence that after 16 years of no deaths involving commercial aviation, we've had the string. But right now, the concern and the focus is on what happened at Midway Airport on Tuesday, in which that private small business jet crossed right in front of the Southwest plane. Thankfully, those Southwest pilots managed to pull up and get out of the way and save the day. It very often comes down to pilots acting very quickly. Back to you.
Thank you, Tom. Developing right now, investigators trying to figure out what sparked a deadly fire overnight in St. Louis Park. This happened on North Street. It's right between Taft and Pennsylvania Avenues. It's near Cedar Lake Regional Trail. The fire started about midnight, and in this video, you can see the flames tear through the roof of this home here. Just before 8 a.m., authorities confirmed that they found a man's body inside the home. They don't suspect the death to be suspicious, they say. We're still in contact with fire crews, and we're going to bring you more when they have new information for you. Have you seen this video yet? Right now, water service back in a Philadelphia neighborhood after a massive sinkhole opened up Tuesday. The hole opened around 1:30 in the afternoon, swallowing an SUV, as you can see, and leaving another vehicle teetering on the edge of falling in. A crane was eventually brought in around midnight to get the car out of there. Officials say the hole was caused by a broken 6-inch water main. The pipe has since been repaired. Incredibly, no one was hurt in that incident. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.